If you're over 50, you've heard the lie, not just from the world, but from the whispers that echo inside your own mind. Your best years are behind you. You feel it. When the younger men at work stop looking to you for wisdom and start overlooking you like furniture. You hear it. In the doctor's tone, when he speaks not of strength, but of managing your slow decay. You see it. In her eyes, when the same women who once froze under your gaze now pass like you're invisible. And deep down, it pisses you off, but you bury it, like a man is taught to do. Now pause, because here comes your correction. You are not done. You are finally dangerous, because for the first time in your life, you have the scars, the lessons, the clarity of a man who ran out of time to waste. This isn't a motivational speech. It's a call to arms. Not to fight the world, but to become your final form. Because while the world worships youth, Stoicism whispers the deeper law. As a man ages, he must become unshakable. Not soft, not apologetic, unshakable. So today we begin not a lecture, but a ritual. This is for the man who refuses to go quietly, who's ready to claim what's his without asking permission. We begin now. Every point is extremely important to understand, especially the last one. Let's dive in. Number 1, the power of stillness. Why older men hold the real leverage. The young run toward everything: money, women, validation, attention. 100 apps open in their mind, each one screaming for a dopamine hit. They move fast, they speak fast, they think they're chasing greatness, but most of them are only trying to outrun their emptiness. But you've crossed that battlefield. You've bled through illusions. You've buried your younger self. And in doing so, you've awakened something rarer than intelligence: presence. Because true power doesn't chase. It waits, it watches, it knows. You've lived long enough to understand this brutal truth. Movement without purpose is weakness disguised as energy. A distraction in motion is still a distraction. A man in chaos is still not a king. Stillness isn't passivity. It's the final stage of command. It's what happens when a man stops trying to be understood and starts being impossible to ignore. It's when your energy no longer leaks to impress strangers, explain yourself, fix chaos, or chase ghosts. It's when your silence becomes your blade and people start leaning in. Not because you're loud, but because your presence tells them everything they need to know. Watch the older lion. He doesn't sprint. He doesn't roar to be feared. He simply is, and everything around him adjusts to that reality. Because stillness isn't hesitation. It's calculation. It's weaponized awareness. It's the art of holding tension so precisely. It rewires the room without a word. You've seen death. You've endured betrayal. You've looked in the mirror and met your own shadow, and now you don't flinch. Not at drama, not at doubt, not at desire. You don't react, you redefine. Your stillness isn't emptiness, it's pressure held on purpose. And that pressure, it wraps around her spine. It makes her heartbeat stutter. It draws her in, even if she doesn't understand why. Because this is the shift from seeking attention to commanding respect, from being the noise in the room to being the gravity that bends it. You're no longer the man who needs to be seen. You're the man they feel, even in your silence. 2. Unapologetic masculinity. Let the world call it intimidating. There comes a moment in every man's life when he's forced to decide, shrink to fit the soft, trembling world around him, or become the immovable mountain they learn to walk around. Most men fold. You didn't, because you've earned your voice, your edge, your presence forged through fire, failure, and fangs in your back. And now the real question isn't, should I soften to be accepted? It's, why the hell would I bend for anything less than truth? The modern world kneels before fragility and crowns it as virtue. But behind every polite smile, every echo of toxic masculinity is a silent craving for the man who doesn't flinch. Your masculinity? It's not a threat. It's a mirror. reflecting the raw, unfiltered strength the world pretends to rise above but secretly worships in the dark. So own it. Take up space like it's your birthright. Sit wide like comfort is your throne. Speak slow like you bend time. Hold eye contact like you see through lies, and wait for them to blink first. You don't apologize for your truth. You don't dilute your standards to spare their insecurities. You don't twist your spine to make cowards feel tall. Let them label it too much. Let them choke on the word intimidating. That's just fear wearing a progressive mask. Because deep down, they know you're not here to explain yourself. You're not here to earn space. You are the space. You're not loud for attention. You're quiet for effect. You don't chase respect. You demand it by existing. This world doesn't need softer men. It needs men who remind the world what unapologetic masculinity feels like in the bones. And when they sense that, they don't challenge you, they adjust. 3. Reclaiming discipline. How the second half becomes your prime. They say men peak in their 30s. That's not truth. That's marketing. A sedative whispered to younger men and a coffin handed to the older ones. But real power, it comes the moment you stop being owned by your impulses and start being governed by your rituals. Discipline isn't punishment. It's liberation. It's the sacred architecture that rebuilds the man they thought was finished. It's not about waking up at 5 a.m. to impress Instagram. It's about waking up before the world touches you. So you own your mind before anyone else does. You've got the scars, the failures, the wisdom. Now you need the structure to give it muscle, to give it teeth, to make it lethal. Wake up and command your body, not because it's trendy, but because your blood still speaks warrior. And every rep, every breath, every quiet morning walked without applause is a declaration burned into the atmosphere, I'm not done. Discipline isn't a schedule, it's dignity in motion. It's eating like your future wears your decisions. It's silencing the dopamine parasites that drain your soul through glowing rectangles. It's replacing chaos with carved moments of intention, even if the world calls it boring. And here's what no one tells you. Discipline in the second half isn't about control, it's about identity. Because without it, you're just a man drifting between routines. But with it, you become a pillar the storm can't move. The second half of life doesn't mean slowing down. It means slicing through the noise. It means walking into rooms where boys shrink and presence deepens. It means reclaiming your body, your clarity and your energy, not for vanity, but for legacy. You are no longer just a man. You're becoming a signal, a living transmission that says, this is what mastery looks like, and the world watches differently when you move like that. 4. The woman. Why you stop chasing and start commanding. Something shifts after 50. The thrill of the chase? Dull. The drama? Exhausting. The masks? Obvious. You no longer chase, you attract. But here's the paradox that breaks the game wide open. The moment you stop needing women is the moment they start needing you. Not the clingers, not the sugar seekers, not the empty flirtations wrapped in filters and shallow compliments, but the rare ones, the real ones, the women who feel your stillness and lean in because she senses it, that you are not impressed by curves or chaos. You are complete, and nothing shakes a woman deeper than a man who is whole without her. So stop pretending to be young. Stop dressing like a 25-year-old influencer. Let the gray come. Let the wrinkles speak. Wear your wisdom like armor. Walk like your presence precedes explanation. Speak from the chest. Pause longer than comfort allows. And when you look at her, look as if nothing she does can disturb your center. Because that's what she craves most. Not attention, not validation, containment. The steady, grounded energy of a man who no longer needs approval, only alignment. You're not invisible. You've just become undeniable. 5. Legacy mode activated. Why it's time to become the man they talk about when you're gone. This final chapter, it's not the end. It's the convergence, where everything you've ever survived, lost, built, broken, and learned Now demands purpose, because now everything counts. Every conversation, every stare, every lesson passed down, every moment you think no one's watching, someone is, especially the younger ones, the ones looking for a map in a world that sold them lies. And you are the only compass they'll ever trust. Most men die and leave behind titles, bank accounts, maybe a car, but those things dissolve. What remains is what you embodied when no one asked you to. What did your silence teach? What did your presence say when your mouth stayed shut? What did you allow when you should have drawn a line? Who did you stand up for when it was inconvenient? Who did you become when no one applauded? Legacy isn't granite, it's reverberation. It's how people behave differently because you existed. It's the pause in a man's voice when he recalls you. It's the young buck who fixes his posture because of how you walked into a room. It's your name spoken in private circles. He showed me what it meant to be a man. And here's the most brutal truth. You are writing your eulogy with every action right now, not with speeches, but with behavior, not with words, but with weight. So choose your steps like the earth remembers them. Leave a blueprint that scorches through generations. Let the echo of your discipline, your calm, your principles, carve its way through time. Because legacy isn't what you leave behind. It's what refuses to leave. You're not past your prime. You've entered the age of pressure, where your calm cuts deeper than any flex, where your gaze is heavier than their noise, where your soul becomes the blueprint. For the men still learning how to build theirs, but only if you reclaim it. If something inside you stirred during this, if a part of you whispered, "I remember who I was," then understand this wasn't motivation. It was a mirror. You've been told to tone it down, to disappear gracefully, to go quietly. But now you know, your calm is a storm, your silence is weight, your age is not your weakness, it's your weapon. So if this lit something in your bones, if it reminded you that you're still dangerous, type, "I'm not done" in the comments. Let them hear the echo. Let them feel the fire. Because this world doesn't need more noise. It needs men like you. Men who walk with weight, speak with precision, and leave behind a blueprint of strength. Subscribe to the Stoic Architect. Return, rebuild, and let this be the moment you stopped accepting decline and started commanding legacy. Because once you've seen the truth, you can't unsee it. And once you remember your power, you never forget it again.